Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get you the insights that matter. AI is changing things so fast, especially at work. It makes you wonder, right? What does this all mean for managers? So today, we're doing a deep dive into how generative AI, Gen AI is, well, really starting to redefine what managers do and maybe even reshaping whole company structures.
It really is a fascinating shift. And for this deep dive, yeah, we've got some great material. We're drawing on a big recent study from Harvard Business School and also getting some practical takes from a leader over at KPMG who works in workforce innovation. Our goal here really is to unpack how Gen AI is boosting productivity, maybe flattening those old hierarchies, and crucially, freeing up managers to do, well, more valuable things.
Okay, let's jump into that main source then. The Harvard Business School study, Professor Manuel Hoffman led it.
That's right, between 2022 and 2024. And they looked at a huge group, over 50,000 software developers globally.
50,000, wow. And the key thing was GitHub Copilot, right? Half of them used it.
Exactly. GitHub Copilot, it's basically an AI that helps write code. Think of it like an AI pair programmer. And the idea was to see its impact, helping developers code faster, solve problems, even learn on their own.
And the way they studied it was pretty detailed, I understand.
Oh, incredibly detailed. Hoffman's team watched something like over 2.4 million actions on the platform, and they carefully sorted these actions. Was it core work, like actually writing code, or was it more managerial work, like project management stuff?
Okay, so they've got all this data, this detailed tracking. What was the big takeaway? When developers got access to Copilot, did it actually change how they spent their time?
It absolutely did. A major shift. Just having access to Copilot.
Okay.
Well, coding activities went up by 5%.
Okay, 5% more coding.
But, and this is key, those project management activities, they dropped by 10%.
10%, that's a really significant drop in management-type tasks.
It is a huge reallocation of how these developers were spending their day.
So what's driving that? Why this shift away from coordination and toward, well, coding?
Yeah, the researchers pointed to two main things happening. First, the coders just became more autonomous. They could do more on their own with the AI's help, less need to constantly check in, collaborate on every little thing. So naturally, less coordination needed, both for them and their managers.
Okay, that makes sense. More self-sufficient. What was the second mechanism?
Time. Because they could write the actual code faster, it freed up time. And they used that extra time for exploration. Learning new things, experimenting with different approaches, stuff that wasn't just banging out the required code.
Right. So if we pull back and look at the bigger picture, the study authors are suggesting this could lead to, what, flatter organizations?
Exactly. They use the term flattening corporate reporting structures.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean, firing all the middle managers tomorrow.
Right, probably not.
But it suggests maybe you don't need quite as many focus purely on coordination and supervision. The managers who remain, they could be freed up from that constant overseeing grind.
To do what, though? What's the more valuable work?
Well, things like actually getting hands-on with projects again, or investigating ways to improve processes, maybe experimenting with new product ideas, things that aren't just meetings about meetings, moving away from endless coordination.
That sounds like a potential win-win, freeing up both developers and managers.
It certainly could be. And this leads us to the really critical strategic questions for companies wanting to make the most of AI. It kind of boils down to two big ones. What exactly should we automate? And who really gets the biggest boost from it?
Okay, let's tackle that first one. Determine what to automate. You mentioned Hoffman's team audited tasks coding versus project management. Can any company do that?
Absolutely. Any company can take that approach. You map out the tasks. What's core work? What's coordination or management? Then you can start thinking, okay, which of these management tasks could potentially shift? Maybe directly to Gen AI, or maybe the employees handle it themselves now with AI's help.
And the study found evidence of that shift happening, people needing less management oversight.
Definitely. They saw that Gen AI users were, well, less likely to go running to managers or peers for help all the time. And interestingly, for almost everything they did, the Copilot users worked in smaller groups. Hoffman actually said, and I'm quoting here, Gen AI can, in some instances, replace a manager, mentor, or any other individual that junior employees may ask for help.
Replace a mentor. That's a strong statement.
It is.
Yep.
His point was that people can increasingly figure things out by themselves without the need for that extra layer of management. The AI becomes a sort of instant resource.
Okay, so identifying tasks to shift is key. What about that second question? Determine who benefits the most. This is where you said it gets really interesting.
Yes. This was probably the most counterintuitive finding in the whole study. It wasn't the top-tier, highly skilled coders who got the biggest boost from Gen AI.
No. Who was it then?
It was actually the less skilled coders. They benefited more.
Wow. Okay, how did that work?
Well, a couple of reasons seem to be at play. They tended to use the AI more for the core coding activities, obviously, but also, and this is fascinating, because they had less prior knowledge, they were maybe more likely to just trust and accept the AI's suggestions. They relied on its expertise more heavily.
Which, paradoxically, helped them learn and improve faster.
Exactly. It sort of accelerated their upskilling.
That has huge implications for managers, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of managerial time goes into coaching and upskilling lower performers.
Precisely. This presents a potentially major opportunity. If lower performers can use Gen AI to learn and improve more independently, well, that frees up a massive amount of manager time.
Time they could then spend on that more valuable work we talked about.
Right. It saves the manager hours, and it adds productivity hours from the employee who's getting up to speed faster. It's a double win.
But it's not just about the less experienced folks, right? AI helps everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Gen AI offers opportunities across the board for all skill levels for improving on all sorts of tasks. Hoffman's study was focused on coding, sure, but the principle applies more broadly. If companies watch how everyone plays high performers, low performers uses AI, they'll spot more opportunities to streamline things, flatten that hierarchy.
So the overall impact, according to Hoffman.
He believes we will likely see an increase in agility in companies that use Gen AI, and sums it up by saying, this will lead to the flattening of corporate hierarchies, which will help streamline productivity and reduce the need for so many middle management tasks.
Okay, so that's the academic research perspective. How does this play out in the real world? Let's bring in those insights from Edwidge Sacco at KPMG. She's seeing this flattening trend too.
She is. She heads up workforce innovation there, so she's right at the coalface of these changes. Sacco's view is that because AI can be a helper, a mentor, an info source, basically anyone can contribute at a higher level than before.
Which means expectations are changing.
Dramatically. She says expectations for associates are skyrocketing. They can now tackle work that used to be squarely in the manager's domain.
Do we have a specific example? Something concrete from KPMG?
Yeah, a great one is their discovery process for clients. Associates used to spend about 5 hours compiling info, reviewing it, figuring out recommendations. Standard procedure.
Okay, 5 hours. And now?
With Gen AI helping, they can do that same level of work in just 3 hours.
Wow, that's nearly cutting the time in half. 2 hours saved per task.
Exactly. And Sacco notes that the high performers especially are grabbing that saved time. They're using it to upskill themselves further, to take on more strategic work that looks a lot like what managers used to do.
So if associates are doing manager-level work, does that push managers upwards, too, toward more executive-level tasks?
That's the ripple effect, yes.
Yeah.
Middle managers also get freed up. Think about something like mastering complex methodologies. It used to be a manager had to be the deep expert, the teacher.
Right, spending time explaining it to the team.
But now, you can essentially train the AI on the methodology. It can explain it, answer questions. So the manager spends less time being the instructor and more time, say, applying that methodology directly to solve a tricky client problem or figuring out the strategic execution. That's higher level thinking.
It sounds great in theory, but are managers actually stepping up into those executive level roles? Or is there some, resistance, fear maybe?
Oh, there's definitely still some resistance. Sacco acknowledges that. Change is hard, and AI can feel threatening.
So how does she handle that? How do you address those fears?
Her approach is about creating a safe space, letting people voice those fears without judgment, but then critically focusing the conversation on what AI can't do.
Okay, what are those things? The uniquely human parts.
Exactly. Sacco calls them human-centric conversations. Things like, actually talking to a client, really listening, reading between the lines, helping someone else articulate what their problem really is, explaining complex needs. These are nuanced, empathetic skills that AI, at least for now, just doesn't have.
And her point is, these are the most valuable parts of the manager's job anyway.
Precisely. And she adds a really important kicker. These are the kinds of deep conversations that managers seldom had time to have before because they were so bogged down in coordination and routine tasks.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, it really feels like the big theme is that Gen AI isn't just about making things faster.
No, it's much more fundamental. It's redefining roles, allowing for a workforce that's potentially more agile, more efficient, yeah.
With AI taking on more of the coordination, the routine analysis.
It just makes those uniquely human skills The critical thinking, the empathy, managing relationships, tackling really complex, fuzzy problems, it makes them even more important. That becomes the core value proposition for managers.
So here's something to think about as we finish up. If AI handles more coordination, more data crunching, what kinds of new human-centric roles might managers evolve into? Roles we maybe haven't even thought of yet. And for you listening, how can you proactively start redefining your own role? Not just using AI to work faster, but to lean into those uniquely human parts of your job to engage more deeply. Something to consider.